Okay. All right. We are in home stretch. We're just going to go ahead and set up our controllers. And then we're also going to go ahead and attach our controllers to our control joints. What I'm going to do right now is let's go ahead and just keep naming things properly. So I'm going to rename the hair system to ribbon follicles group. And we're going to go and start making some controllers and attaching them to the, like I said, attaching them to the rig. What I'm going to do is go and grab the ribbon follicles group. I'm actually going to go and hide it just temporarily. So it's a little bit easier for us to kind of work with when we're attaching controllers. I'm going to grab these guys, put them on another group as well, and hide them. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring back the Rig 101 wire controllers. And so I'm going to go and make the chest or the spine controllers. And these are going to correspond with each one of these joints. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 joints. I'm just going to do just circles. Honestly, they're perfectly fine. I'm going to go hit 5 or hit a V and snap them over right there. Just going to turn on the mesh layer. You want to make sure that the mesh or that the controller is outside of the mesh, so it's easy for you to grab a hold of. But you also want to make sure that it's not too big to where it's including other controllers. Okay, so we're going to go take that one, we duplicate. Okay, and snap it up to that one. Control D. Snap it up to this one. Control D. Snap it up to that one. See, that one's getting a little bit occludy right there. And Control D. And then snap it up to that one. Okay, there we go. So this one, I'm actually going to tilt just a little bit this way. And then I'm going to actually grab some control vertices and turn on symmetry. And I'm just going to reshape this a little bit. Turn on soft select. Basically, I'm just going to make it just fit his body a little bit better. So just something like that. This one right here, we can do the same thing. And honestly, I think there's a bit of an artistry to creating unique, interesting controller shapes. You don't have to just make the same old boring circles. So do something like that. Okay, just kind of conforming it to the body. All right, let's go and do the same thing for the tail. Let's grab a circle. I'll turn off that mesh layer. And I'm going to go and snap it up to the tail right here. So the tail is actually at an angle. One of the things what we're going to have to do is do a freeze transforms on it. Now, that brings us to a little bit of a conundrum. If I do a freeze transforms, but I'm pointing the arrow or pointing it down the arrow like this, or pointing down the tail like this, what's going to happen is it's going to reset the world orientation to basically world space. So if I go to modify freeze transformations, you see that? That's how it looks when you try to rotate the tail. But maybe I want to keep this rotation. Maybe I want to make sure it's going down the joint chain, which it actually helps. It helps out quite a bit. So this is where we come into the idea of offset groups. Offset groups essentially is a grouping of a controller that we can then use that group to essentially give us the orientation we want. It keeps the controller clean. It keeps us having clean clean orientations, clean translations, things like that, rotations, and we can still have the orientation direction that we're looking for. So what I want to do is with this, this guy right here, I'm going to actually go ahead and do a freeze transformation while it's in its normal world space. I'm going to Control G to group it to itself. Go to Modify Center Pivot. Okay. And so you'll see that with that group selected, I can rotate this controller, but then when I click on the controller, I have no translations or rotations. So that's what an offset group will do for us. Okay. So that's kind of how it's useful. So I'm going to go and take that offset group that I just made and duplicate it. And basically, I'm going to push it down the chain right there. And I'm going to actually reshape this just a little bit. Now, once you put it in an offset group, you do not want to be scaling the controller. Leave it alone. If you want to reshape it, grab the control vertices and reshape it with that. Okay. As you'll notice, but by doing it with the control vertice, we don't actually put any translation on there, which is nice. Okay. Do another one. Do another one. Do another one. Okay, and I don't really need one for the tip, although I could put one for the tip. We'll do one for the tip. Okay. All right, and then let's maybe go ahead and shape the vertices. Turn off the symmetry. Turn it off. So again, just kind of scaling it just to fit the size of the geometry. And again, I'm not scaling the actual object. I'm actually just scaling the vertices. So I'm kind of just deforming it, really, like you would move a vertex around. Okay. So we got the tail controllers in here. Let's go ahead and do the neck, and then we're going to start naming a whole bunch of stuff. And this one, I'm not doing the offset groups just because it's just a neck. It's just going basically straight up, whereas the tail is going diagonally. Okay. I do want to kind of rotate this down just a little bit. Mesh. Okay. Scale it in just a little bit. Scale that one in. And then that one. Okay. Okay. Just going to grab basically a bunch of these controllers, and I'm going to do a freeze transformation on them. I don't need to do it for the tail because I've already done it for the tail. Those have already been frozen. So let's grab all these, modify, freeze transformation. Spine con base. I'll start naming these. Spine con 1. Spine con 2. Spine con 3. Spine con top. Okay. Neck con base. Neck con 1. Neck con 2. Neck con top. Okay. All right. And we're going to start basically nesting these under their parents. So netcon top is going to go under netcon 2. Netcon 2 goes under netcon 1. Netcon 1 goes under netcon base. Okay. All right. SpineCon 1 or SpineCon top. Actually, netcon base is going to go under SpineCon top. And then that, since we're just making a big chain that goes all the way up the top, SpineCon top goes under SpineCon 3. That goes under 2. And then that goes under SpineCon base. Let's just open that up and make sure it makes sense. SpineCon base, 1, 2, 3, top, base, 1, 2, top. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to take that, the spine base, and that's going to go under the root. Okay. Now let's do the tail. I'm going to do a search and replace real quick. Let's do search and replace. going to look for the word group. I'm going to name it tail offset group. There we go. So it should name them all properly. And so we'll do, again, select all of these. And we're going to do search and replace. And tell it to do hierarchy this time. We'll search for group, change it to controller, because that's what's common with all of these. We'll tell tail con. It's going to rename each one of these. Okay. So we actually need to open each one of these. And we'll just open each one of these. Okay, there we go. All right, so I need to do, this one is going to have to go under this controller. So offset group 10 goes under tailcon. This one's going to go under that one. And you're just basically just dragging each of these under. And this is us just creating FK chains. That's all this is at this point. So it's pretty easy. Okay, we'll just make sure it all works. So we need to test and make sure these FK chains are functioning. So grab each of the controllers. And we're just going to go ahead and rotate them. Looks good. Save it real quick. And then we're going to test. Actually, let's go ahead and grab this guy, tail offset group. That's going to go under the root. So that's going to be right here. Let's go and test our, test all that, looks good. And if it doesn't work, I mean, something's not going to follow. That's what I'm testing. It's just to see if something isn't following. That's what I'm looking for. But I think we're good. Okay, let's double check our names. Tailcon 1. And I'm going to go through and just rename each one of these. Tailcon 2. Tailcon 3. Tailcon 4. Tailcon 5. Tailcon 6, which I guess I already had. Tailcon 7. Tailcon 8. Tailcon 9. Tailcon 10. Okay. All right. We have successfully created some FK chains. Cool. Let's go ahead and attach these controllers to their respective joints. Okay. So in order to do constraints, we need to make sure we're doing it parent and selecting parent first, then child, and then we click the constraint. So I'm going to do parent. The child is going to be the control joint right here. Okay. So be parent, child, parent, child. So I'm going to grab parent, child, which will be the root joint. Let's go to constrain, parent. I'm going to turn on maintain offset. Remember from that video where we're talking about constraints, maintain offset means a lot. So we're going to make sure to turn that back on. We don't want to flip anything around accidentally. click apply. Okay, parent, child, and then hit parent constraint. Okay, I'm going to hit G on my keyboard, but I'm still basically just redoing the last used tool. Okay, do the same thing again. Okay, so let's test it. Grab these controllers. Oh, good. It is making the joints follow along. Big old swooshy tail. Grab the root. It should move everything. Good. Good. We have a working spine. There you go. It works. All right. Last step is we're going to be skinning the ribbon to their respective control joints. So what we're going to do is go and grab the ribbon, and then we're going to grab the respective control joints. So the tail is only going to need to have tail joints grabbed or clicked. And then I'm going to go under skinning, bind skin. I'm going to reset it. Joint hierarchy. I'm going to do selected joints, bind method. Let's do closest distance. Classic linear is good. And we'll go and do bind skin. There you go. See how it moves? That's what we want. All right. I'm going to do root and then grab each one of these. Okay. Again, only the joints that are important to that system or important to that part of the body. That's all I'm doing. Skin, bind skin. Already set up the settings, so I don't need to mess with them anymore. Okay. Grab this, grab this, grab this, grab this, grab that. Hit G. All right. So if we go ahead and grab, say, the neck and twist it, you'll see that it bends. You can see the follicles follow. You'll see there's a bit of a fall off there, which is great. Awesome. Same thing with the spine. That's what we're looking for. Kind of a bit of a rubber bandiness going on. Okay. Perfect. All right. Save that. And your ribbon spine is now created. It's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and clean up. I'm going to take these two groups, group them together. Ribbon spine, setup group. And then the con group. Both of these are going to go under the lizard man char group right here. Should be able to pick up the world controller and move it around. Pick up the placement con, move it around, pick up the root con and move it around. And then I'm going to move around all of your controllers and make sure they work. I'm also going to be looking at your controller shape and size and see if it looks appropriate for the mesh that you're going to be putting it on. Because if you have, say, conflicting controllers where they're not easily visible, or they are sitting on top of each other, or they're just, there's too much, there's a lot of density there, then that's going to be a bit of an issue. But here you can see that, all this is set up nicely. It's all working. Everything is named. Like I said before, I'm going to go through and actually grab, I'm going to do a show, none, nervous curves, and I'm going to look at all of your controllers. And what I'm going to do is do a zeroing out of the translations and rotations. And if anything collapses or changes, then that means that you did not have frozen transformations. So you got to make sure that you do that. Freeze your transformations as you're going along. Delete your history if you need to, but follow along with what I'm giving you here. Okay. All right. And at that point, that's the end of this. So turn this in and move on to the next step.